welcome to all of the families that are joining us today. My name is Chris Betcher. I am the Associate Director of Alumni and Parent Relations. My role on campus is I plan a lot of the on-campus programming for our alumni as well as parents. I also work with a group of students called the Student Alumni Ambassadors, and we work together to build programming and engagement for our alumni to connect with our students. I also work with the parents. So we work with a wonderful group of parents who help us out with orientation and other things that we might do throughout the year and doing some parent programming. So I know that, like you, we all wish that we could be together on campus today, but we wanted to be able to bring St. Norbert College to you so that you can ask some of those questions that you have about your student coming onto campus at St. Norbert this fall. Couple of housekeeping things. I want to share that if you haven't already liked us on Facebook, we have a St. Norbert College Parents Facebook page, and we also have a St. Norbert College Parents Facebook group, which is really wonderful. A lot of the parents that you're going to meet this after or tonight are part of the Facebook group, and they are wonderful at answering questions on that page, welcoming you to St. Norbert College. So if there's a question that didn't come to mind today, and it might come to mind tomorrow, certainly go onto that Facebook group and you can ask the question there, or you can send an email to us at the Alumni Parent Relations Office. I'm just going to quickly also share with you who else is with us today. Cabrini Jablon, she's the Associate Director of Admissions, Programs and Scholarships. She will be our moderator today, and she will be introducing herself very shortly here. We also have Billy Falk, who's the Director of Alumni and Parent Relations. He's kind of keeping track of some of the comments and questions that will be coming in today. Corday Goddard, he said hello a little earlier, the Associate Dean of Student Development. He's going to kind of sit back and see if there are any questions that he may need to answer along the way. So the way we're going to do this tonight is that when you have a question, you have a chat function there. You can type in your question, and then Cabrini will read the question and the parents can answer that for you. If you want to ask the question and not do it in the chat box, just put your name in the chat box and Cabrini will call on you, and then you can go ahead and ask. Say you want to ask the Gregorys because they've had an athlete on campus and those sorts of things. Certainly, we want this to be interactive because it kind of changes things up a little bit. I'm also going to just address really quickly. I know that many of you may have questions regarding the return to campus and COVID-19. I know that our office receives quite a few questions about that. I'm happy to say we found out this afternoon that you will be receiving an email tomorrow. It will not be giving all of the movement instructions. That's going to come a little bit later, but it's going to lay out the COVID-19 return to campus plan for you. So Billy will be putting that URL to the website because it went live right before we started today. So you will be the first families to have access to that. So while we're chatting, if you're looking at it, then you may have a question regarding that, and we'll try to answer those questions. We'll try to answer all of those questions regarding COVID as best we can. But in the meantime, ask all of those questions. Do I need a card? How much money do I give them? And those sorts of things, because those are also going to be important things. And understanding that it's going to look a little bit different this fall, but we are committed to really welcoming your students to our campus and giving them the best experience that we can. So at this time, I would like to introduce Cabrini Jablon, and she will introduce you to our families. So welcome.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Again, my name is Cabrini Jablon with the Office of Admission. I primarily work with students from the great state of Illinois, but I have had the pleasure of working with the Alumni and Parent Relations Office on a lot of our joint programming and events. So that's kind of why I'm part of tonight's activities. But most importantly, we want to hear from the parents. So Nancy Nolan, if you'd like to start and tell us a little bit about you and who your students are, and then we'll head off to the Gregorys after that.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy Nolan. I have 4 kids, 3 of which have chosen St. Norbert. My oldest daughter works at St. Norbert, so she's never left. She loved it there. and they hired her, and so she's still there. My second son went to Marquette University, and my next daughter went to St. Norbert, and she was a tour guide for the campus. So that was her job while she was going to school there. And now she's in graduate school. And my youngest son will be a junior this fall at St. Norbert. So that's my story.
Thanks, Nancy. Lynn and Jim?
Sure. Hi, we are Jim and Lynn Gregory. Two children. Our eldest, Jonathan, graduated in 2019. He was a business major. He played soccer and ran track. You'll be happy to know he's gainfully employed and actually on his second full-time job because he decided to move from Green Bay to the Twin Cities. So we're all excited for him for that. Our youngest daughter, Sarah, will be a sophomore next year. She is an elementary education major. And she has gotten involved in the nights on Broadway, so like music, musicals, that kind of thing. So we've kind of got experiences all over the board. So looking forward to talking with you more.
Thank you. Mary Reynolds?
Hi there, I'm Mary Reynolds. We are from Downers Grove, Illinois. I have two daughters, and our oldest daughter, Jillian, graduated in 2019. She was a communication major, business minor. Jillian was involved in a sorority. She was involved in dance marathon. She was involved in orientation. She worked on campus. So really took advantage of kind of all the student involvement opportunities there. Our younger daughter, Maddie, will be a junior in the fall. She is a psychology major with a communication minor. Maddie is a cheerleader, so she cheers for St. Norbert and also the Packers. She is also in a sorority. She also does orientation and FYE and some other groups on campus. So looking forward to talking to y'all.
Thank you. Rick and Jenna?
Hi, we're Rick and Jenna Ponks. Our son, Jack, is going to be a junior. He plays baseball at St. Norbert. He is in the College of Education, so he wants to be a teacher. This is our second year on the parent panel, our first child that actually even just went away to college. So, it was our first experience with that, and he's been doing great and loves it there.
Thank you. And last but not least, Tanya. Oh, you're on mute.
Hi, I'm Tanya Lemons. We have three children, all of which have chosen St. Norbert College. Tyler, our oldest, graduated in May of 2019. He was involved in track. He also worked on campus for facilities. Jonathan, he was a business major. Jonathan is going to be a senior this coming year. He is a finance major with a minor in economics. He also works on campus for facilities. He joined a fraternity actually later, just last year, as a junior. And now we will have our daughter Ashley, who is coming in as a freshman, and she is going to be a biology major. So a little bit different than the boys and stuff. So we get to see what it's like from more of a biology standpoint versus business. So
Great, thank you. Well, now you know who our parents are, so feel free to start chatting away some questions. Anyone want to be our first one to get the party started?
What is the process for buying books? And do they need their books when they're, first day of class? How does that work?
Yeah, great question. Gregory's, you want to start off with that one?
Well, sure. So I have to kind of try to think back. I mean, you'd think this would be old hat having gone through with a few of them. I think in the past when we had orientation on site, they would go to the bookstore and kind of get their books, rounded up, and then the bookstore was able to actually keep them for the student over the summer, so that then that first weekend that they were there, they would go to pick them up. I guess I am not sure what is happening for this next year. I don't think, because those kids went home early, I don't think Sarah had an opportunity to get her books yet. I'm imagining that that there may be options to call into the bookstore to find out what kind of process they would like to have the students do. You may be able to order them over the phone or online. I don't know if there are any other parents here who might have that answer. I feel like out of the loop, Cabrini, sorry.
That's okay.
Might be a good
It's
question.
an odd year,
Answer
so
of
who
myself.
knows? Does anyone else have anything to share? Otherwise, I can jump in. Rick and Jenna?
I was just going to add that I know Jack a lot. Oops, wait, sorry. Is it? Okay, so Jack a lot of times buys his books online. And I think, I mean, he kind of handled all that on his own, but he got the syllabus from his class so that he knew what classes he had to do. But he either gets the hard copy of books and then he sends them back and they're fairly inexpensive, or he'll get an online version too. So I know he's taken that route quite a bit because it saved a lot of money.
And
Great,
he's in a summer class this year through St. Norbert, and he purchased the book online. In a way, yeah, it was a lot easier. So he didn't have to be on campus, didn't have to go through the bookstore.
Yep, I would just say if you do choose to go through the bookstore, they are open and available. So I would just give them a call and they'll assist you with either ordering over the phone or ordering online. Otherwise, I know some families do prefer to go other routes. Just make sure if you are buying books at other locations that you're using the correct edition and the correct IBN number. Otherwise, it can mess up with their assignments if the page numbers are different and things like that. So just beware of some of the tricks of ordering elsewhere, but it's definitely easy to work with the bookstore on all of that. I see we have a lot of questions about COVID. First question was about sports. I personally have not heard an answer about fall sports. I don't know if Corday or anyone else has an answer to that yet. Doesn't look like it. Lynn, have you heard anything about football? No. So I think hopefully we'll have that answer as soon as possible. Yes, Jenna?
The NCAA hasn't come out and made an official statement yet. So I think not only are all the colleges, but just like the high schools, we're all still waiting to know. I am a high school coach here in Illinois and just got out of a meeting 2 hours ago. We don't know what we're doing yet. Keeping our fingers crossed.
Questions about will students have to be tested for COVID before they arrive, or if that's part of the health forms? Corday, do you have an answer or any information on that?
I don't, and I haven't seen the latest plan that was just released. So just please keep watching for that. I have not heard that yet, and I've heard from lots of other schools. Some are doing that and some are not, but I just don't know what is going to be required for us. But please make sure that you and your students are watching the SNC email. We will be communicating for sure as we get closer and closer to students arriving. And as we know more, just like Coach said, as soon as we know more, we'll let you know more.
There is a question about how long are students required to live in residence halls? Tanya or Mary, would you like to start off on that one?
Yeah, I can start. Usually it's their freshman and sophomore year. I know for both of our boys, they were in the residence halls for freshman, sophomore year, and junior year, then they went to campus housing. Both of our boys actually lived in Michael's Hall their sophomore year, so they lived with 7 other students, and they did community service. It's a program that St. Norbert has for that particular hall. They both enjoyed it very much. They're actually suggesting that their sister think about that already as a freshman. So, and then they moved with the same roommates actually through their junior and senior year. So they both had wonderful experiences with that.
Mary, you want to jump in as well?
I was just going to say, St. Norbert has a 4-year residency requirement for their students. So they encourage students to be on campus all 4 years. I think there is an application process in your later years to move off campus. My eldest daughter was in the halls. What the lovely thing is as a incoming student, you're in a more traditional residence hall with double rooms, community bathroom, where you really have an opportunity to meet people and get to build community as you progress through your years. They have different living opportunities, so more suite styles, townhomes, apartments. My older daughter, her junior and senior year, lived in Greece, so it was an apartment style building with its own kitchen. So then if you choose to kind of tone down the meal plan, you have that option as well. This year, my younger daughter will be moving into Xanton, which is also an apartment, but her sophomore year, she was in VMC. So it's a really nice opportunity for them, you know, to start out with just one roommate in a double, and then there are many opportunities as they move through their senior years. There's even houses that the college owns, so they have that opportunity if they want to live in a house their senior year, maybe junior year, depending on credits and things like that and how the housing lottery goes, but that they can live in a house as well. So lots of opportunities, and the meal plans kind of also go with that as well. So their first and second year, they require them to have the biggest meal plan, but then their juniors and senior years, when they're in apartments with kitchenettes and things like that, or kitchens, they can not have as many meals in the dining services and have options.
Perfect, thank you. The next question, what happens if a roommate gets COVID? Are there alternative living arrangements if this should happen? Corday, do you want to address that one at all?
Yeah, we've identified 50 spots on campus where students can be quarantined if that's necessary. And so if that would happen and the roommates would have contracted COVID-19, they would be expected to quarantine themselves, and we would assist with that. We would encourage students in that case to go home. They're safest at home, and so that would be part of the conversation. But if the student needs to stay on campus, we have safe, secluded spaces for them, and they'll still be able to engage with their classwork. I don't know the details of that. I don't know that the faculty know 100% what the details are, but of course that's one of the things that we're trying to work on. And like I said, I haven't read the plan. Maybe some of these details are in the plan, but the understanding is that we would have safe space for every student, and alternative ways of doing classwork if that needs to happen.
Thank you, Corday. The next question is official move-in day for first-year students. Traditional first-year students, I believe, is August 20th. Honors program students, I believe, is August 19th. And then depending upon fall sports, there could be some additional dates in the mix, but the majority of first-year students, it would be August 20th, and more information should be coming out soon on that as well. Next, will the students need printers, or are there printers available for student use? Nancy, do you feel up to par to answer that one at all?
My son had a printer. I don't think that it's a necessity though. I believe that you can go to the library and print things. And so yeah, it's not a necessity, but maybe it's a good perk if you have your own.
Tanya?
My sons did say there are printers all over campus. My first son did bring a printer with him his freshman year. He never used it. They always use the on-campus. There's a $15 limit, I guess. That comes with. 10 cents a page, I think. He's answering for me in the background.
That's okay. Thank you. So yes, there are plenty of printers throughout campus. If you do have the ability to bring your own, it's always nice, but it's definitely not necessary. If COVID prevents the kids from being on campus, are there options to postpone enrollment? Yes, we would work with families on that, and I would just encourage you to work with your admission counselor if, as we get closer, there is a change in plan we would be happy to work with you on a plan B, but hopefully that will not be the case. For dorms with community bathrooms, is there drinking water fountains in the hallway? Will they be open and safe? Wondering if we should send a water source with our daughter. Any of our current parents want to address the sinks and situation? Rick and Jenna?
I don't know. I can't remember if there were drinking fountains in the hallway, but we sent that Brita filter. I don't think there were. So Jack would just fill that up and it just filtered the water. It wasn't very expensive. He kept it in his fridge. And then when he went to lunches and things and breakfast, he would always take his hydro and fill it there. When he was in the cafeteria, and he never complained. He said he didn't even use the Brita thing very much, and he's a pretty good water drinker, but we did have that for him. So,
any other families want to jump in on that one? I am pretty sure that most of the residence halls do have water fountains throughout campus. There's many refill stations, and the ones, at least in the admissions office, have been working over the summer, and they are, washed down, and I feel comfortable using them. So I'm sure that that's something that should not be a problem. I'm a pretty fussy water drinker, and I think the water on campus is pretty good. So I wouldn't be too concerned with that one.
We send some bottled water as well. I know that's common as well.
Thank you. Can you please repeat what you said about when to expect the next email? I believe it's going out tomorrow. Is that correct, Corday or
Yes,
Shelley?
this is Chris. We've been told that the email will go out in the next day or so. The plan is tomorrow, but we'll see what happens. I expect to see it tomorrow. But look in the, go ahead and look in the chat, because we do have the website up there for you, so you can kind of peruse the COVID website now.
Thank you. Sorry, just trying to keep up with the questions here. A question about St. Norbert being a Christian college. Will St. Joseph Church be available at all times to the students, or are there restrictions? Any family in particular would like to address that one? Otherwise, I can talk about it. I'll just jump in on that one. The church is definitely open. I'm not sure how late the building is open. Corday, I don't know if you would know that, but yes, students are more than welcome to come and go. I know right now Mass is being offered by registration. I don't know if that is going to change for the academic year, but we can only allow a quarter of the church to be filled on Sundays for Mass. And then they are live streaming noon Mass and Sunday Masses as well. I'm not sure what the plan is for in-person Mass for fall, but if a student just wanted to go in and pray and have some quiet reflection time, I don't foresee a problem with that. Corday, anything you'd add to that?
No, like Cabrini said, nobody knows exactly how this is going to go in the fall with access to different buildings. Many of the buildings will be locked in order just to restrict the number of bodies in the space, but I don't imagine the church will be one of those places. And if it is, there will be ways to make arrangements for your students to be in that space. Almost all the residence halls have chapel spaces as well, and so there'd be some sort of quiet space that they could use if they felt like that and for whatever reason couldn't get into the church.
Thank you. The next question is about what are the first days before classes set up like? Will the students get out of the room? Will they be involved? Mary, you want to take that one?
Sure. And again, this fall, it may look a little different, but normally there's a kind of a robust orientation program where students are with their orientation or FYE leaders, have an opportunity to do a lot of social things. Again, not sure this fall what that all will look like. I know my daughter's been doing kind of online Zoom orientation leader meetings over the summer so far with her students, incoming students. But I mean, I'm assuming they'll be doing some in-person things as well as some virtual things. It usually is a nice blend of some educational things that they need to know coming in as new students, as well as social things, giving them opportunities to meet other students. You know, and I'm hoping that Sunday night, I don't know if they'll be able to do the picnic, the fireworks and all that kind of fun stuff this year, but maybe next year they can get invited back or something, because that would be a shame, but got to keep them safe. So
We definitely try to keep them busy those first couple weeks to ensure that, you know, that they're not isolated and aren't feeling homesick and things like that. So I'm sure whether it's virtual or in person, they will have plenty of things to do. Back to books. How do they know what they need? Is there somewhere they can look? Tanya, you want to grab that one since you probably have the most recent experience?
We actually just went online today. If you go and sign on to their SNC Nightline, and you go into registration, it'll say order books online, and it will give you a list of all of the books that they currently need, or if there's some waiting. Some of the professors sometimes don't have them listed yet. You have to keep going back to check, but it will have the ISBN number and everything if you choose to order some online, or if you want to order them directly from the bookstore. We just did it today for both Jonathan and Ashley, and we were able to go and look up a couple of their books and kind of compare prices between St. Norbert and online. So it's a really easy, they make it very easy. They used to not have the ISBN number as readily available, but now it's right on there. So you print it out and you can pretty much, tells you exactly what they need.
Great, thank you. Will freshmen be able to participate in orientation activities before school begins? Yes, they are already doing that. Shelley, I don't know if you want to say anything more about that.
Sure. They are already doing some things online, but when they move in, we'll be doing some things in person as well. But we'll be doing them in smaller groups than we normally would. We won't be pulling the entire incoming class into an auditorium to do anything, because that would have everybody sitting too close. But we'll be doing a good mix of in-person, in smaller groups, maybe live streaming into different rooms, but also then still being able to have conversations in person. So it'll be a mixture of things, but there'll definitely be things happening.
Thank you. If someone commutes, do they have to purchase a meal plan? I'll just grab that one quick. No, you do not have to purchase a meal plan, but if they would like one, it's definitely available as an option. The next question is, when do we pay for tuition for fall semester? Nancy, you want to take that one?
Usually you get an email that tells you that a payment is due, or you should go on the Nightline and see what's due, and you can set up a payment plan if you would like to do that. So it should be pretty easy to find out.
Yep, I believe the email about the first bills are going out either later this week or early next week. So you should be getting that information shortly. For commuter students, will they have a day on campus prior to the first day of class? Shelley, could you answer that one?
Sure. So we start our activities with students on the evening of move-in day, so that Thursday evening, and we will ask commuter students to be participating in those events as well, because they'll need all that same information that the students living on campus need as well. So they'll have events with their FYE group that they'll be going to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Because of the nature of being able to do some things in a hybrid manner, there may be a couple times where they can log in from home, but there will be things that they do on campus even though they commute. So they'll want to adjust their work schedules so that they have limited working hours for that weekend.
Next question, will there be Breeze Brigade this year, or will families be on their own for move-in? To my knowledge, there will be assistance, but mostly for cleaning in between families checking in and out. So washing down the railings, and there'll be signage in terms of, you know, which directions to go and things like that. But I believe you physically will be responsible for moving in your material, your possessions. But Corday or Shelley, if there's something else that I'm unaware of, feel free to jump in on that one.
That sounds about right. We won't be able to help carry things in, just again, because we wouldn't be able to clean every single thing off before it ended up in a room. So.
And then a lot of questions again about COVID. Are there dorm living arrangement modifications, cleaning procedures? I know just campus wide, we've definitely upped our cleaning procedures, and there's wipes and sanitizer and everything throughout campus. I don't know of any specific modifications to the residence halls. I don't know, Shelley or Corday, if you know anything about that.
The only thing that I can add is that this won't affect your students in this first year on campus, but in a residence hall that many students live in as sophomores, typically holds 4 students to a room. Those have all been moved down to just 2 students to a room. So there's no place on campus where more than 2 students are sharing a single room. And so I am aware that there's an extensive cleaning schedule in place now for when students are back in the residence halls. And they will be bombarded with messages about the things they need to do to keep themselves safe and keep everyone else safe. Like I've said a couple times, I know we don't have every T crossed and every I dotted yet, but we are working on it. And for sure, by the time students are arriving, we'll know for sure what we're planning to do.
Thank you. Some questions about, is the gym going to be open, and is the recreational facilities open to all students? Gregory's, you want to, obviously you don't know about the gym being open, but in a typical year, do you want to talk about what the facilities are like for the sports center?
Sure. In the sports center actually was just recently updated. So there's really a lot of great amenities for the students to be able to use to work out, to kind of let off a little steam. I know that there are also some options in Van Dyke, which is where kind of the campus center, where the mailroom is. There are some, I think there's still that gym area in there that they can use. I know that there are a variety of trails. My daughter purchased a like a hammock because they've got like things you can connect your hammock to, so you can sit outside and catch the fresh air down by the Fox River. So there's really a lot of great ways that students can kind of let off some steam. Did I hear last year too, or maybe in the years past, are there like bike rental options, Cabrini? Or
yeah, I'm not sure if that's still current or not.
Okay.
Great question though. And then they do offer like yoga classes and Pilates and intramural sports. So there's definitely a lot of ways for students to get out and be healthy. As far as the gym being open for fall, I would assume it will be open maybe on, you know, a sign up basis type thing to make sure that there's not too many people in a given room. But I'm fairly confident the building itself will be open to some capacity. We just don't know the specifics yet.
Yeah, and there's lots of lawn space. So if your kids enjoy Frisbee, there's lots of space to throw a ball or fly a Frisbee.
A question about, will masks be required on campus and in classrooms? Currently, anybody on campus is required to wear a mask. I'm assuming that will continue for fall. Shelley, Corday, any insight into that?
Yeah, I think that is the plan, that everyone will be required to wear a mask when they're out on campus. I don't imagine inside a residence hall room. I don't know about a classroom. Probably inside a classroom they'll be expected to wear a mask as well, but I don't know that for a fact. But for sure, for the foreseeable future, the plan would be that everybody on campus is required to wear a mask.
The other thing I would add is that on move-in day, anyone helping with move-in will be expected to have a mask as well.
Thank you. When does the first break from school start? So to my understanding, there is not going to be a break this year, that they're going to go straight through till Thanksgiving break. Is that correct, Shelley? So I'm not sure what that date is, mid-November, I would assume, but I don't know if it's the typical, they have class Monday, Tuesday, and are done like Tuesday before Thanksgiving.
I think that is the case.
Yeah, they're expected, classes will go through Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and then they will take their finals from home the week after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think the letter Sarah got said classes through that Tuesday. Wednesday is a day of online learning, like I think just to make sure they get all their days of learning in and get things set up for finals week, which will then occur the following week, if I recall correctly.
Thank you. Can you sell books back to the bookstore? Tanya, you're our bookstore expert. You want to jump in on that one?
We have never currently sold them back to the bookstore because we actually, with having 3 students at St. Norbert, have kept the books because the next student's been able, we get lucky and, our second son needed one of the same books that our first son did. We will probably be looking at that, though, coming now as Ashley's going in because she's in a totally different major. But I believe you can give them back to the bookstore. There's also online places that you can sell them. I know friends have done that too as well. But maybe you can even sell them to other students if you wanted to. So.
All of the above. Yep, you can definitely sell them back to the bookstore, sell them to your classmates, etc. The next question is a really good one. If there is an emergency on campus, how are families notified? Is there a text message that goes out? Rick and Jenna or Nancy, do you want to jump in on that one?
I'm hearing yes.
Yes.
From my daughter, who's the director of the Office of Communications.
Yeah, communication has been fantastic. Over these last couple years, there's been a lot of things that have happened, and I'm more than pleased with the communication that's come through and the message that we've received on what was happening on campus from COVID to anything else that's taken place. The communication's been fabulous.
So yes, whether it's a storm on campus or power outage or, something worse, hopefully not, but yes, your student can sign up on Nightline for whoever they'd like that information to be received. So for example, my mom gets it, my fiance gets it, so you can sign up multiple family members to get those notifications when something's happening on campus. And the college takes that very seriously and is really good about getting information out as quickly as possible. A lot of questions about COVID in terms of campus activities, music and theater, food service. I will say I know the food service is creating a video that they're going to be sharing shortly with the changes to food service. There definitely will be a lot of changes, so that is something you're going to want to stay tuned for more information on. They're just finalizing that plan, and like I said, they're going to be sending out a video explaining how that's going to work. I don't know anything about theater performances and clubs and groups. Shelley, do you know anything on that?
I don't know anything specifically about theater performances, but clearly there'll be changes. It won't be like a normal year. And for club activities, when that email goes out and you take a look at the website with information about COVID, the assumption is that we're moving into phase 2 of the college's plan as students return to campus. And so that limits the numbers of people that can gather. And so it will change. Like for large student organizations, they might have to rethink what they do because they may not be able to get so many people into a room together. but there'll still be some things happening, and so yep, some things will be virtual still, but there'll be things that are happening in person too.
Question about prescriptions. Is there a place to refill them on campus, or is there pharmacies within walking distance? Mary, you want to take that one?
Sure. There are 2 Walgreens not far from campus. And so for both my daughters, if they needed anything, we gave our doctors those Walgreens, and they were able to fill them and pick up their prescriptions from there.
Or their admission counselor will drive them to Walgreens to get their prescription for
That
them.
is a true story too.
That might have happened a time or 50.
Till we got those tonsils out, yes.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of places within walking distance of campus. And I think you can, a lot of places too, you can have your prescriptions sent right through the mail to campus. So that would potentially be an option to look into as well. We've been notified, one of the professors has announced the class will be online. If most or all of the other professors follow suit, will she still be staying on campus? So out of the over 600 classes, 12 classes were given permission to be online. And to my knowledge, there was a specific process and request for that. I'm not sure, what all that entailed, but only 12 were given permission to move to an online format. And if the student does not want to be in that class, they can work with the registrar to change into a class that is meeting face-to-face. But to my knowledge, it is just those 12 classes out of the 600 or so that we offer. Corday, do you have any other knowledge of that or any other comments in regard to that?
No, I think that's spot on, Cabrini.
St. Norbert stresses community involvement, including for the students including overseas. Will community involvement continue? And if so, will the students be protected? I think we kind of addressed that. I do know study abroad is still an option, and we do have students that are planning to travel yet this fall. I'm sure with additional restrictions and precautions in place, but our student safety is always first and foremost. So whatever we are offering, I'm confident we will be putting a lot of protections in place. What is the cutoff for deciding whether or not a student will commute? There's not a formal deadline. I think just for the sake of everything else that comes into play, the sooner the better. I would say, at least within probably 2 weeks to the start of the school year would be helpful. But there's a lot that goes into both being a commuter and living on campus. So the earlier they can alert the college of that, the better. Do you know if choir and band will still be allowed to happen? I personally do not. I don't know if anyone in the audience has any knowledge of that.
I was in a meeting earlier today with a couple of music faculty members, and they're still planning on ensembles and that sort of thing, but I don't know. I don't know the details.
And if a student does not opt in for a meal plan, can they still purchase from the cafeteria? I can answer that one unless one of our families has experience with that already. In past years, yes, you could purchase food just, right in line. I believe they are not allowing, or you can't pay in cash. I don't know if they will just allow people to walk up to the register and get food or not. But I did hear that they aren't accepting cash. Otherwise, we do have multiple other eating facilities on campus. But I think when that video goes out about the meal plans for fall and what food service will look like, I do believe that will be addressed in the video. So we can get back to you on that if that doesn't come out in the next week or so. Next question, how to apply for campus jobs? This is a great question. Nancy, do you want to take that one?
I'm not totally sure because my kids just took that on themselves. I
Sure.
wasn't even involved. So it must be pretty easy. I'm not sure who you ask.
Yep. Does anyone else want to jump in?
I can, if you want. There is if you go online under student jobs, I believe, our daughter already applied for a job and got a job on campus. So, and the boys did the same, just by looking at the job postings. There's a ton of different jobs that are usually on campus. But I believe it's right on just www.snc.edu and just type in student employment and all of the open positions should come up.
Yes, and more will be added as it gets closer to the school year. But there are plenty of jobs available, particularly in dining services. But all departments have student workers, and the majority of our students do have some sort of campus job. Given the self-serve nature of move-in, will students be given more time, will they be given move-in time slots to minimize interaction with other families? I do believe that there's going to be time blocks assigned, or you can sign up for a specific time frame. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be cleaning in between families moving in and out. So hopefully it will be safe and easy for everybody.
I may be able to help on that one a little bit too, because I know the move out was everything was scheduled. We were allowed to have 5 families in an hour's time in. And my son and his roommates, we all coordinated that and were in and out very easily. And it was just the roommates and the parents that we had contact with. Nobody else was there. Everybody pretty much follows that rule. I'm assuming they'll probably use some kind of format like that. But it went smooth. It was very easy.
And Jack chose that time. He went on and kind of, they gave him different options. And so he got on and chose that time, and that worked for us because we had to drive a little bit to get there and set that up. So it was efficient.
When do students go back to class after finals in November? Second semester usually starts the last week in January. I don't have the specific date off the top of my head. I don't know if any overly organized parents know that date already. Nope. End of January. Where on Nightline do you sign up for notifications of emergencies? Any parents out there know where that's located in Nightline? I believe it's under parent information or something like that. Shelley, do you know?
Because our headings are not the same as the student headings, I'm not 100% certain what it says. But if they click on something and it's not right, it's not going to ruin anything. It's perfectly acceptable to click till you find it.
I think
It's
they're.
under, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tanya.
It's under emergency contacts. It's one of the last choices, I believe, on the main page, because I know Ashley just updated hers. So it's not hard to find if they go through their tabs. There's not many to choose from, but I believe it says emergency contacts, she said.
Is there any banks on campus? And if so, what bank? Mary or Rick, do you have any knowledge of the banking in the area on campus?
I know around the corner, I mean, not far, it's just off campus. There's a Chase Bank and
They're associated as well.
Yeah. And it was close, but I don't know if it's right on. I mean, I don't know what they have right on campus. I know we just kept Jack with his same banking because then I can put money in, or we can deal with that as we go along. And he hasn't seemed to really need any money.
I was going to say we kept their accounts that they had, as long as they had their debit card. They were able to, I mean, both my girls were able to do what they needed to do.
I know there is an ATM on campus. I'm not sure what bank it's affiliated with, but there are several banks within walking distance of campus. And there's also a list of banks on the parent website. I believe there's a right call out or maybe a left call out about resources in the community on the parent website, and it lists the local banks. So maybe Billy can add that link into the chat. Question about, are classes going to be in person or will some of them be online? As I mentioned earlier, a handful will be online and they should have already been notified about that. So they should check their emails and their schedules to see if there were any changes. But at this point, most of our classes will be in person. Any knowledge of the research grant program that the parents can share? I'm trying to think if any of your students were involved in the research fellows program for first year students. I don't think any of your students were, because I helped coordinate that program, but have any of your students been involved in other research as an upper class student? Doesn't look like it. So there's plenty of research opportunities. There's the Research Fellows program that some first year students are a part of, and it's a paid position to do research with the professor their first 2 years. But then there are numerous opportunities down the road to get involved in research. And if your students are interested in that, I just encourage you to have them talk with their academic advisor or their professors, and they can help them get connected to research opportunities on campus. Or you can call your admission counselor for more information about the research projects that are currently happening if you have more questions about that. What is the policy on futons? Any current, yep, Gregory's?
So I think Jonathan bought his futon when he was a freshman. They do fit under, if they loft the beds, they do definitely fit under there. Sarah's roommate last year happened to have a couch. It was the biggest sitting area on their floor. And I think they're planning to haul that thing into VMC again next year. So they are definitely allowable. I think I actually just read something on the parent page on Facebook. They were having a long conversation about futons, and several people put some links out there. People have bought them at Walmart, on Amazon, at Target. Back in the day when Shopko was around, that's where we bought ours from. So if you head over to that Facebook page, I know there's a link up at the top of the group chat that Billy had put out there. And there, like I said, there are definitely conversations happening about that on that Facebook page.
Perfect. Do all rooms have lofts? Are parents expected to build one for their students? Tanya, you're shaking your head.
No, you don't have to build them. I don't usually for certain halls, I believe. I know like Mad Lore requires lofts. I don't know if St. Norbert changed that. I didn't get any information yet stating that we have to purchase them yet. But I mean, in the past for both of our boys, we did. Not purchase them, rent them.
So all first year residence halls, I believe now do have lofts built in. Is that correct? Shelley, Corday, anyone know that one?
I think that's right, although I'm not 100% certain about Bergstrom Hall. Bergstrom has bunkable beds, and they may now have loftable beds. But yeah, nobody has to build anything. And I think the director of housing said that they were not using the rental company anymore because they did not need to do that.
I think I've gotten through most of the questions in the chat. If I missed something, please feel free to speak up. But we always do like to end our event with our parents giving a piece of advice. And since they didn't get to talk as much as they probably would have liked to tonight, Nancy, do you want to start us off with a piece of advice for our parents?
I know it's going to be a difficult start this fall, with the COVID and different changes, but I just want to assure all the parents that the college always does the right thing. And if you have any questions, just reach out. Everyone is more than willing to help you work through any issues, and it's just a great school.
Thank you. Lynn and Jim?
Well, I'll give one and then I'll actually let Jim speak this time. So one of the greatest pieces of advice that we got as Jonathan was heading into his college years was to set up a communication plan. And actually now with kind of the state of affairs of the world, that may even be a greater piece of advice than ever. You may have the desire to check in every single day with your student, but you're going to want to talk to your student on if they want that or if they're willing to do that. Outside of what's, back in the day, what we did is we kind of set a 1 day a week check-in. And if I needed to ask them a question, I said I would text them, but they just needed to respond yet that day. If it was urgent, I would tell them it was urgent. So my piece of advice is talk to your student about how much they want to check in. I ended up finding out we would chit chat throughout the week, and that 1 day a week thing kind of went by the wayside pretty quickly because every now and then we were just chatting about something that was either happening here at home or on campus. So that's my advice.
My advice is when you move your child in, don't take a lot of stuff because they're going to end up bringing most of that stuff home. When you say goodbye to them in the parking lot and not up in the room, because you'll spend a lot more time in the room when you're saying goodbye. So just say your goodbyes in the parking lot. It's a lot easier. And like Nancy said, there are a lot of people on the campus that will help out your child. There's a lot of people that are going to be there for your child. So yeah.
Thank you. Tanya?
I guess my piece of advice would be encourage them to get involved. And there's so many different things on campus. There's so many different groups to get involved in. I mean, if they're in a sport, just encourage them to ask questions. Like you said, there is, if they have maybe some trouble in some classes, there's academic services. I know that it was awesome for my one son who had a concussion when he was in high school. Academic services was absolutely wonderful in helping him through some of that stuff. So I would definitely just encourage them to get involved. We've had 3 students that have chosen St. Norbert College, and we've toured a lot of colleges. By far, I don't think there's anything bad that we have to say about St. Norbert College. They've been absolutely wonderful, and every one of our students so far, we'll see what Ashley says coming in, but all of them love it there. It's more like a family, and everyone really supports each other, the students, the staff. So, your students have made the right choice. From my point, I wish I could go back to college there because we love it as parents also. I never worry about our children when they're at St. Norbert, so.
Thank you. Rick and Jenna?
I'll take this one.
I agree with Lynn about just, we initially kind of set up a Sunday night call. And after a while, it sort of worked itself out to just being really natural communication because it was weird to have him away and he was our first. And I was a little bit more, wanting to see him. And we had gone back up there a couple of weeks after dropping him off. And he said, he was sort of acted weird. And I said, hey, what's going on? He said, it's just weird. I need some space to figure out how to be me by myself. And then you came back up and wanted to do all this stuff for me and take me shopping. And I'm really trying to do this on my own. And so it was really proud of him for doing that, but yet I'm like, okay, I need to back off a little bit. And I wasn't overbearing, but I think it's just good to let them be them, but also say, you know, setting that up that, hey, I understand, but I need that communication back too. We need to talk a little bit. And then, you know, we just sort of front loaded with him all the services, like just as a reminder, you need to use these services. You have to be here. You have to communicate. And, you know, we had, he's done very well. He's learned some lessons, but he's been extremely successful. I felt like he was prepared and that the support there is amazing. And so it, you know, letting that work out for him, it's been just like, it's like you're proud of him to see who he's becoming. He's doing a nice job. And I really believe that with the services and things that St. Norbert offers and how comfortable he is. And I mean, he goes and talks to Cabrini and touches base with her all the time. And he really, it's like a lifeline. It's just good to know there's somebody there. So, you know, allowing a little bit of space is okay because they're safe there and they're doing what they should be doing.
Yeah, I would, if I had to give them one piece of advice, I would say to reach out to their admissions counselors. And I can't speak on all of them because I've only dealt with Cabrini, but if anything came up with Jack, I said, you know what? Our relationship with Cabrini was built over that recruiting process. And she will point you in the right direction. She will be there for you. And for 2 years, she has been there every time he's needed him. He did learn some lessons, but she really was guidance. So I would say reach out to your admissions counselors because they've built that relationship already over this recruiting process. And they're a great piece of, just a tool to be able to use and guide them in the right direction.
That was very sweet. Thank you. Mary?
I would agree with everything that's been said thus far. And especially, you know, Cabrini has been great to both my girls. So thank you for that. I would say getting involved. The beauty of a small private liberal arts kind of institution is there are so many opportunities for students. And I work in higher education. I've worked at larger institutions. I currently work at a smaller institution, and I'm so thankful that my girls are at a place like St. Norbert. You have the ability as an athlete to also study abroad and do a whole host of different things. So encourage your students to take advantage of everything that they have to offer because that's why they're there, and they're going to get an awesome, well-rounded education, and that is going to put them ahead of the game when they get out and they're looking for employment, because that's what employers are looking for. They're looking for those students who have had a broad-based experience, have had a good education, who have had you know, internships and been involved in student activities, have been leaders of sports teams or clubs. You know, it's those, I mean, there are a million students who graduate with a BA or BS every year, but it's what's going to make your students stand above the rest of them when they come out. And an education at a place like St. Norbert is what's going to do it, because they're going to have those opportunities to be involved and get a vast array of experiences. So that's what I would encourage them to do. And it's never too early to start talking to the folks in the Career Development Center and trying to figure out what that plan is and how what they do during their 4 years there is going to help propel them to that next step. So that would be what I would advice I would give.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you to all our current parents for your time tonight and your advice. To our incoming families, we thank you for listening, and I apologize for not having all the answers. We are working as quickly as we possibly can to answer all of those questions and have things in place and rolled out for fall. So just stay tuned. Make sure your students are checking their St. Norbert email, because that is where every information or all the important information is going to go to, as well as your email address and the St. Norbert social media channels for all updates. Chris, Shelley, Corday, thank you for being with us. If any of you have additional information or final wrap-up notes, feel free to jump in. Billy, thanks for keeping us on track with the chats and the links. And I think that's a wrap, unless, Chris, do you have any final words?
I would just like to add that if you don't receive the email within the next couple of days, certainly reach out to us at parents@snc.edu so we can make sure that you get that in your inbox. You can also go on the parent webpage and you can fill out the contact us form, and that will automatically get you into our system with the correct email addresses for where you would like to receive all the correspondence from us. But again, thank you, and we're really excited to meet you and your students come this fall. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thanks, Parent Panel.
Don't hesitate to call your admission counselor too if anything didn't get covered tonight. We are available both for virtual appointments, phone calls, and we have a lot of students that are enrolling for fall that are still wanting to come back and do that last look. So we are open for tours and final conversations if that would be helpful for anybody. Just give us a call. Have a good night and be safe, everybody. Thank you.